In the fading light of a cool autumn evening in Denver, as people hurry across the plaza to escape the coming chill, Noah Bennett stood frozen. In place, his hand still gripping the strap of his worn duffel bag, his heart pounding like someone striking a desperate rhythm from the inside. He had promised himself he wouldn't look back. He had promised that this time he would keep walking. But then he heard that voice, small, trembling, and impossibly brave, reach out to him through the wind. "Sir, Mom can't walk anymore." The words hit him harder than any blow he had ever taken. And suddenly, leaving wasn't so simple anymore. Before we go deeper into this emotional journey, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of doing the right thing when it matters most. Noah had not planned to be a hero that day. In fact, he felt like the furthest thing from one. His life had unraveled over the last few months, losing his job at the mechanic shop, the apartment he could no longer afford, and the fiancée who grew tired of waiting for things to get better. He had come to the plaza that afternoon to clear his head one last time before leaving Denver altogether, maybe catching a bus to Phoenix, where no one knew him and no one expected anything from him. He had been pacing the open courtyard, debating whether running from his problems was cowardice or survival, when he first noticed the young woman sitting alone on the edge of the concrete steps. She was holding her breath in that way people do when they're trying not to cry. Her posture hunched, her denim jacket pulled tightly around her shoulders. A little boy, 6 or 7 years old, stood nearby, clutching her hand with concern far too deep for his age. Noah had only glanced at them briefly before continuing on his path, assuming they would be fine without him. He didn't realize anything was wrong until he heard the dull thud, like something heavy sliding off a table. When he turned, the woman was no longer upright. She had slumped sideways, one hand braced weakly on the stair, her face pale and her breathing uneven. The boy was tugging desperately at her sleeve, whispering something Noah couldn't hear. For a moment, Noah stood torn between instinct and exhaustion, between stepping forward or finally walking away from a life that kept demanding too much of him. He chose to walk away, at least at first. He made it 10 steps before he felt a tiny hand grasp the edge of his shirt. When he looked down, the boy's blue eyes were swollen with fear, but there was something steady in them, something pleading. That's when he said the words that stopped Noah's entire world. "Sir, Mom can't walk anymore." Everything inside Noah shifted. Without speaking, he dropped the duffel bag and knelt beside the woman. Her name was Rachel Cooper, as the boy Evan told him in a trembling voice. She had been having trouble standing for the past hour, but insisted she was just tired. Noah placed 2 fingers gently on her wrist and felt how weak and erratic her pulse was. She was conscious but fading fast, her breath shallow and strained. Noah knew enough from experience his own mother had lived through years of heart complications before passing away that this wasn't something to wait out. He scooped the woman carefully into his arms, telling Evan to stay close, and began moving toward the street where a taxi had just pulled up. The driver saw the urgency in Noah's expression and unlocked the back doors instantly. Noah laid Rachel across the seat, keeping her head elevated while Evan climbed in after her, clutching her hand with fierce devotion. At Denver Memorial Hospital, everything became a whirlwind of nurses, gurneys, and clipped medical instructions. Noah stayed with Evan in the waiting room because the boy refused to let go of his hand. As the minutes stretched into an hour, the boy's initial fear softened into quiet exhaustion. He leaned against Noah's shoulder, whispering that his mom had been working double shifts to take care of him, and had been skipping meals to afford rent. She had collapsed several times earlier in the week, but always brushed it off. Listening to the child's small voice, Noah felt something inside him break and rebuild at the same time. He saw himself years ago waiting in hospitals, watching someone he loved struggle while the world moved on without caring. He had spent so long believing that his failures made him useless, that he had nothing left to offer anyone. But right there, in that brightly lit waiting room, a little boy believed in him with a trust so pure it made Noah's throat tighten. When the doctor finally emerged, he explained that Rachel had experienced a severe drop in blood pressure and dehydration compounded by stress and exhaustion. They had stabilized her. She would recover. But she needed rest, nutrition, and help. That word echoed in Noah's mind long after they were allowed to see her. When Rachel opened her eyes and saw Evan curled against Noah's side, she started to cry. She whispered an apology to her son for scaring him and thanked Noah with a sincerity that made his chest ache. He stayed late into the night. He went out to get them food from a nearby diner. He found the nurse to ask what else Rachel might need. He sat beside Evan and told him stories about rebuilding old cars and how even the hardest engines could run again with the right care. Noah didn't know why, but helping them felt like he was slowly rewiring something inside himself, repairing the parts he thought were beyond saving. Over the next few days, Noah kept returning. He helped Evan finish his homework, made sure Rachel had someone to talk to, and even contacted her workplace to explain the situation. He wasn't trying to be their hero. He wasn't trying to reinvent himself. He simply couldn't forget the fear in Evan's voice, or the strength it took for such a small boy to ask a stranger for help. When Rachel was finally discharged, Noah walked them home to their small apartment. She hesitated at the door, unsure how to thank him for everything he had done. Noah didn't know what to say either. He had come to Denver Memorial ready to leave his life behind, and now he wasn't so sure anymore. Before Rachel could speak, Evan stepped forward and wrapped his arms tightly around Noah's waist. It was the kind of hug that carried a message deeper than words don't go. Noah knelt down and hugged him back, feeling something in himself settle, like a compass finally finding north. That night, Noah returned to the plaza, where everything had changed. His duffel bag was still sitting where he had dropped it. He picked it up, but didn't sling it over his shoulder. Instead, he sat on the concrete steps and looked at the city lights flickering across the skyline. For the first time in months, he didn't feel lost. He felt needed. He felt purposeful. He felt like maybe, just maybe, God had put him in that exact place at that exact moment for a reason bigger than his failures. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the goodness still in this world. Before the ending, please leave a comment below telling us, I believe small acts can change lives. Noah didn't leave Denver the next morning. Instead, he showed up at Rachel's door with breakfast and a shy smile. She greeted him with gratitude that warmed the air between them. It wasn't the beginning of a love story, not yet. But it was the beginning of healing, of companionship, of three people learning that strength can come from the most unexpected places. And as Noah helped Evan lace his shoes before school, the boy looked up at him with that familiar steady gaze. Noah realized he didn't need to run from his life anymore. Sometimes, the universe gives you a chance to rebuild, not with grand gestures but with small, trembling words spoken by a child who just needed someone to stop and care. That day, Noah chose to stay, and in doing so, he found the purpose he had been searching for all along.